Hi everybody, it's me, Miss Shawn, from the Early Learning and School Readiness Department with Gwinnett County Public Schools. And I don't know about you guys, but I am sure missing our Play to Learn classrooms, teachers, and students, and families. So in an effort to keep the learning going at home, we thought we would upload a few read-alouds for you guys to use at home. So parents, get all your kids together. Get them as close to you as possible because that physical connection is really important. And remember, lap reading is one of the best things that you can do with your kids. So, are we ready? All right. So today, we are going to read one of my favorite books. It's by one of my favorite authors. The author is right up here on the front of our book. His name is Eric Carle. And the cool thing about Eric Carle is he writes the words, but he also draws the pictures. And this book is called The Tiny Seed. This is our title. So now, kids, what do you think that this story is about? Parents, ask your child, what do you think this story is about? Just by looking at the cover of our book. That's right, it's about a flower. And based on the title, also about a tiny seed. I wonder what's going to happen. Let's read and see. So now, parents, this book has a lot of words. So we're going to use one of our read aloud strategies by not reading every word on the page, by looking at the pictures and reading parts of the words. I'm really familiar with this book because I read it ahead of time, so that makes it easier to retell the story and by shortening some of the passages. As long as the kiddos get to see what that main idea of each page is and the main idea of the story, then it's fine to just shorten the passages or look at the pictures. You can always tell the story by looking at the pictures. All right, here we go. So it's autumn, and we know that because we can see that the leaves are starting to change colors. And we see some tiny seeds in the air. The seeds are being blown in the air, and they're going on a journey. Will they be able to keep up with each other? Where are they all going? Let's see. One of the seeds has flown really high, close to the sun, and it burned up. So the rest of the seeds keep traveling along, but the tiny seed is sailing along with the others. Look, here it is, right there. Ooh, another seed has landed high on top of a mountain covered with snow, but the seed can't grow there, right? So the other seeds keep going, and the tiny seed is right here, following along. Let's see if he can keep up. Ooh, now they fly over the ocean. Who's ever been to the ocean? Parents, ask your kids about a time that maybe they've been to the ocean. One seed falls into the water and drowns. Look at that. The others sail on, but the tiny seed isn't going as high as the others. So he's down here, but the other seeds are way up here. Ooh, one seed has drifted down into the desert where it's hot and dry, and the seed can't grow because it doesn't rain a lot in the desert. It's really hot. So that seed is not going to grow. But the seeds are still pushing along in the wind, and there's our tiny seed. Look how tiny it is. Parents, ask your children, what does tiny mean? We see some of the seeds here, and then here's our tiny seed. How are they different? That's right. This one is tiny, which means small. It's smaller than some of our bigger seeds, right? Finally, the wind stops and the seeds fall gently down to the ground. We can see some of them right here. Oh, but one of the seeds gets eaten by a bird because birds eat seeds. That's what they eat. Oh, look, now it's winter. What does winter look like? Parents, ask your children, what does winter look like? It looks different here in Georgia. We don't always get this great stuff right here called snow. That's right, snow. So the seeds have settled down onto the earth, and some of them have gone down underground. But look, This little mouse who lives underground, he's going to eat some of these seeds for his lunch. But the tiny seed lays really tiny over here on the side. And so, shh, be quiet. He's hiding from that mouse. Ooh, look. Now it's spring. That's the season that we're in now. After a few months, the snow has melted and it's really spring. The birds start to come out. The sun is shining. It's raining a lot. Those are all signs of spring. Have you seen those kinds of signs of spring? If you look out the window, you might be able to see some of that stuff. I know I've seen a lot of rain. And you know what else I've seen a lot of? Pollen. Achoo! Makes me sneeze. The tiny seed hasn't even begun to grow yet. Will it be too late? Hurry. Let's see if it's going to start to grow. Some of the seeds have started to grow and they've got some roots down here under the ground. And this big thing, this big plant, it's called a weed. If you look outside your window, you'll probably see some weeds. I know I have a lot of weeds in the spring. We get so much rain that we get a lot of weeds. But the weeds grow really fast and really big, and they can cover up little tiny plants like this that can't get any sun or rain. So then these seeds and these plants will die. But look here, our tiny seed is growing just a tiny plant, so it's not very big yet. Oh, and the warm weather also brings children outside to play. Hopefully you guys can go outside and play soon. Ask your parents when it might be safe to go outside and play. This child has stepped on a plant and broken it. Oh no, now it's not going to grow. But the tiny seed is just a tiny little plant over here, and the children didn't see it, so they didn't step on it. So it's still growing. Ooh, the tiny plant is growing. Do you see? It only has 3 leaves. But in the time that it only had 3 leaves, this one had 7 leaves. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's also grown a really cool thing at the very top. What did it grow? That's right, it's a flower. But what do you see happening here? Oh no, it's a hand coming down to pick the flower. Thankfully, our tiny plant is so little that nobody's picking him, right? Oh, look, this boy has picked a flower for his friend. That is so nice. Look at him showing kindness to that girl. Now it is summer, and that's the season we'll have next, after spring. Look how tall our tiny seed has grown into the large, beautiful flower that you see there. It is so big. Look at the people underneath of it. People come from miles around to see it because it's just so amazing. It is a giant flower. So it went from a teeny seed or a really small seed to a giant flower. And giant means really big. Can you stand up as really big and giant as you can? Stand up tall and tall and tall. Look around. Who's the tallest flower in the room? All summer long, the birds and bees and butterflies come visiting. They have never seen such a big and beautiful flower. Look at those bees. Parents, ask your children, what sound do the bees make? Do you see the bees right here? What sound do they make? That's right. Bzzz. What sound do our birds make? Do they tweet, 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 tweet? Do butterflies make noise? Not really. They're so quiet. They like whisper a little with their wings, right? Look, it's been a whole year. And how do I know that? Because look, it's autumn again. We can tell because the leaves are starting to change color again on the trees. The wind is blowing again, and it's starting to blow some of the petals off of our big giant flower. What do you think is going to happen? Let's see. The wind blows harder, and it bends and sways. Can you bend and sway? It bends and sways our flower, and then it shakes the flower, and the seed pod opens up. And look what's happening. What do you think is happening? Parents, ask your children, what do they see happening? Does it remind them of something? That's right. At the very beginning of our book, the seeds were being blown in the wind and carried across the sky on a journey until they found a place where they could plant. So our tiny seed has grown into a giant flower, and now it's fall again, or autumn, and he is letting his seeds go so that they can go on a journey of their own, and new planting can happen. That's the exciting thing about our different seasons. In all the different seasons, we get to see lots of different things. So this is what happens in fall. That is the end of our story. So as you can see, parents, I've made sure to read that book ahead of time so that way I wouldn't have to read all the words on the page. I made sure to point out and read the pictures so that the students or your children could see what was going on in the book. So one thing that's really great about books is that to try to make that connection to your child about things that are happening in their own environment. So in this book, we talked a lot about all the different seasons, and spring is happening right now. So make sure to point out some of the things that you've learned about in this book by looking out the window or going outside if it's safe. Kids, make sure you ask your parents. Take a look outside and see if you can see some signs of spring. And as we move into summer, you can start to see some signs of summer. Right now, you should be seeing lots of sunshine maybe, but also a lot of rain. You might see that pollen. Remember, it makes me sneeze. Achoo! But you might also see some birds and some bees and some butterflies. You might see those really big weeds, but you might also see some really beautiful flowers that are growing. All right, friends, have a great day, and hopefully we're going to see you back in school really soon. Until then, stay safe, keep the learning going, and don't forget, parents, you are your child's first and best teacher. Keep the learning going. Bye.